Welcome to the Sisterhood of Limitless Living. I'm Dr. April Moreno, autoimmune wellness researcher and professional helping women around the world to live their best possible lives despite the autoimmune condition. Listen in as we speak on various topics about the autoimmune journey and interview amazing and inspiring women who are living and thriving despite their autoimmune condition. Let's get started. Hi Sisterhood, I hope you're doing well. Today I'm talking to you about the topic of the Autoimmune Anniversary. And today I'm talking about it because I am experiencing and celebrating and commemorating my 3rd year since the autoimmune diagnosis. And this is my Autoimmune Anniversary Day. And so I wanted to share that experience with you all and ask you also, if you celebrate an autoimmune anniversary, is there a specific day that you commemorate or that you remember along this autoimmune journey? Is there a specific event and a day that you remember? For me, the day that I remember, it is about the day that I experienced some really strange health symptoms, which led to the diagnosis. So this was the beginning of an autoimmune relapse. And for some reason, I noted the day. I remember the moment I first started to feel the strange symptoms. So it stands out to me because of the fact that it started this whole journey. And I wanted to talk to you today about the different experiences on that journey and what I've learned along the way. You know, some people may think about their autoimmune anniversary, if they remember it or if they acknowledge it, maybe as the day that they were diagnosed, or maybe it was the day that a very particular health episode happened to them. For me, again, it is about the day that I started to notice the first symptoms of a strange relapse that was very new to me. It was really important to remember that day and to commemorate that day because it was a life-changing event. It's really important that I think about this day as a moment of insight and a moment where I really changed my way of thinking, my way of living. And so let me talk to you about that experience. It was the middle of summer. It was a really hot day. I remember that. I was going through a very stressful work experience. I was going through situations where I was allowing bullying to take place. I was not standing up for personal boundaries with my schedule, with my time, and with my work efforts. And I was really exhausted. I was going through a whole lot of stress and not understanding how to maintain my own sense of personal workplace boundaries. That's a whole other topic for another day as well. All of that culminated into this autoimmune relapse in the middle of the heat of the summer. What I remember is that from there, it took me a few days really to go to the doctor because I thought, well, maybe this is something that's, it's strange, but it's probably stress related and maybe it'll just go away. I really sensed that it probably would go away. I just had that feeling. But knowing what I know now, relapses do tend to come and go, and that was not going to be the end of this journey. Finally, I decided to go and get checked out. And once I did get checked out, I was told that this was not a minor health condition. I was referred to a specialist. I went through a whole bunch of different scans, and then I was given the diagnosis. And so it was a really challenging journey that lasted several months. And I want to talk about 3 things that stood out along the journey. For me, the first was about a sense of faith and practice of prayer. When your health is on the line and you realize that you have nothing but your health in life, you can rely on faith, a force that is beyond us. And for me, it was about faith. It was about my sense of prayer and connection with God to believe that everything was under control, that it was in control, and that there was a plan for what was going on. So that was really what I needed first and foremost on this journey, the sense of faith, believing that everything was going to be okay, how I was going to manage this, and how I was going to respond to this challenge. So, the sense of faith, a sense of prayer, went to several healing room meetings locally that were run at different churches. And they do these, I believe, on a weekly basis. I believe they're international as well. And then the other factor I wanted to talk about was this sense of proactivity. It was really important to make sure that I was getting the right health care, that I was getting the right examinations, going to the right specialists. If I had any questions, to be very clear about what those questions were and to find out about the next steps along the journey. Another important part of that journey was about getting a second opinion in my case, where I was given that initial diagnosis, but then I wanted to make sure that I had a second opinion. And sometimes, if the information is unclear or murky, getting a third opinion or more may be necessary. So, being proactive was also a very important aspect of what I now call limitless living. The third part of this experience that I remember on this anniversary is the importance of building community. Once I was diagnosed, I did seek out support groups, but I found that many of the support groups were not, let's say, they were not exactly positive. Sometimes I would leave feeling worse than when I went. I remember when I went to my first support group, these were the first people that I had the chance to meet with my condition. It was just a lot of almost promises of what was going to happen to me. That was what I was hearing. And that's not the way I chose to approach my condition. Building community is really important, but building a very supportive community that you can connect with and a community that speaks to your sense of wellness and your identity of who you are as an individual living with an autoimmune condition. So finding that community that works well with you, works well with your wellness, which speaks to your wellness and connects with you is really important. From there, I started a support group on my own locally. I started a group where we spoke to individuals from different holistic and integrative healthcare fields, and we learned about all these different approaches to improving our healthcare and our overall sense of wellness. It could even be environmental, it was financial, even, it was mindfulness, it was psychology, it was a lot of different things. It was nutritional wellness, it was the whole spectrum, which I now look at in terms of 10 dimensions of wellness, looking at how working with a community, learning from people and specialists in the field of autoimmune health and wellness, that was really important to me as a factor. So these are the three things that I wanted to talk about today during this autoimmune anniversary, just like that first year of what I experienced, remembering that on this particular day of my anniversary. I think I called it an autoimmune birthday in a previous recording, but yeah, it's really more of an anniversary. And it's a day that I recognize. I do actually celebrate it as well as a day that I woke up to a new way of living. And before the autoimmune diagnosis, I was going through some really difficult times where I felt out of control with my life. I felt I didn't have a sense of boundaries in my work, in my relationships. I just, overdid things. I wanted to constantly prove myself, prove my value, prove my worth to the world. Once I had this autoimmune experience, this diagnosis and this first relapse, I realized that no, I need to look at my own health and prioritize wellness. And it's really not about improving or impressing people. It's really not about believing that constant fear of like disappointing people or not giving enough value, but it's really more about wellness and cultivating this sense of well-being and also contributing in my own way to a culture of wellness. So that's really what this experience has taught me in that first year of the autoimmune experience, and I would say that I do actually celebrate it. I celebrate it as a time of awakening, a time of acknowledgement, mindfulness, and more self awareness of who I am, my role on this planet, my role in interacting with others in community, and the work that I can do in autoimmune wellness. So that's the story I wanted to share with you today as I think back about the first year of the autoimmune experience, how important it is to continue to build community. And that's why I started this podcast. That's why the sisterhood already exists. It's been a couple years, maybe a little over 2 years now, as a Sisterhood of Limitless Living. And it's really important to cultivate this sense of proactiveness, positivity, this ability to have insight into what it is that we need for our overall wellness across so many different dimensions of living, and also to find others who are positive, proactive, and encouraging. So being part of a community is very important along this journey. So that's the story that I wanted to share with you all today. Do you celebrate your autoimmune anniversary? Do you remember what happened that day? Do you remember what day do you remember as part of this commemoration of the start of this journey? I'm really curious to hear about your autoimmune anniversary story as well. So in closing, the 3 lessons that I wanted to talk about were this sense of faith and prayer. I wanted to talk about the importance of proactivity and finding your own, meeting your healthcare needs on your terms, finding the second opinion, the third opinion or more, finding the specialists, going to a set of wellness providers that you trust. And then also the importance of building positive community. So in closing, that is my story. Thinking back, these are the 3 lessons that I've remembered, and these are the 3 stories that I wanted to share with you today. Thank you for listening to the Sisterhood of Limitless Living podcast. If you like what you heard, come and follow us and subscribe on iTunes or give us a review. Also, you can join us on the Facebook group, the Sisterhood of Limitless Living, or come visit me on my website, aprilmorenophd.com. Take care.